Having kids is a never ending adventure. These kids don't come with instruction manuals and they don't have a reset button. The truth is that you never know if you're doing things right. One time, I even forgot that I had a kid. I was I was at home trying to figure out where did I have to go for something. Then I got a call from the school that my son was still waiting for me to pick him up 2 hours after dismissal. It's very confusing. Now they start growing up, you see the different changes, then one day you have to drop them off at college. Or maybe you have to drop them off at the airport because they're going halfway across the world following God's calling. Stay with us. This is God Made Me Laugh. Welcome to God Made Me Laugh. Appreciate it. Thanks. Well, this is episode 2. I want to thank everyone who watched episode 1. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for those who subscribe. Thank you to those who liked and those who share with their friends and those who follow us on Instagram as well. I truly appreciate it. This episode is a very special episode. We have guests. I am not going to be talking to myself for all this time. We have Isabel, Tyler, and Ibeliz, and we're going to be talking about missions, but not like Mission Impossible. Okay, because after so many movies, it's pretty clear that it is not impossible. No, we're going to be talking about missions. You'll see, it's a very cool episode. And if you're a parent and you're out there and you are thinking, I don't know what to do. My kid wants to go across the world. Hey, this episode is for you. And this episode is also for your kids. So sit together, watch it, talk about it.
I think God first made me laugh when it came to missions when I was, how old would I have been? I would have been 17. And I was at a missions conference and kind of felt the Lord being like, hey, I want you to finish high school and go to this mission school. And I was like, all right, cool. I was going into I was at the end of my junior year when he told me that. And then before I knew it, 2 weeks later, I was in college classes over the summer, and I was like, man, what is my life right now? Mm-hmm. It was pretty crazy, but yeah. I think that was the first starting point of I was like, I feel like it was more like the Lord laughing of being like, I didn't really know what I was going to step into, but He knew, and so I thought that was kind of funny. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's good. Okay, I'm going to bounce off the same whatever. But yeah, got me laugh when I was in my senior year of high school and I had little to no intention of doing any sort of missions ever. And I wanted to study to be a criminal psychologist, go to a good college, really typical dream life. And then God asked me to do missions. He told me to go to an organization called YWAM, and then from there told me I wasn't ever going to stop. So,
and it's been crazy for you guys. You've been all over the world.
Yeah.
And you remember the first time we dropped off Isabel at the airport, because we didn't even go inside. We just dropped her off. Yeah. You remember that day? What were your thoughts?
It was a fun for us. I think it just, I realized what we had done because we couldn't go with her for different reasons. She was 18 and we dropped her off at the airport. First time she was traveling alone. She was not going to meet a family member to her destination. She was going to meet strangers, which was crazy in our part, especially the way we are. We have been, we're always monitoring the kids. We have our life 360. We follow everywhere they go, and all of a sudden she's going to missions and we let her go. When she, in her first layover, she FaceTime and she's bawling. She's crying and she's upset that she was tired, she was hungry. most likely she was scared. So we were working at a time, there was nothing we could do, and we're like, hey, it's gonna be okay, the Lord is in control, you're gonna be fine. So could do just a real quick prayer, and Lord, just bring her peace, and that she understand that this is your purpose. But at the same time, I'm like, what have I done? I just dropped off my kid in the airport by herself, 18 years old. She's going to Hawaii, and we live in Connecticut. So it was pretty crazy. All of a sudden, I'm like, what did I do? I just kind of panicked for a couple of seconds, and then I remember, I'm like, okay, God, you've got this. I don't remember where it was that you had your first layover, but Denver. So she was in Denver. So we tried to calm her down the best that we could. And then she says, okay, I'm going to get something to eat. I'll call you later. And an hour later, she calls, and a completely different person. An hour later, she's like, hi, guys. And I'm, what just happened? What happened? Look at my friends. So she met there 4 people from Y1 that were going to the same mission school. So she made friends immediately. The Lord answered the prayer. She was happy, definitely at peace, and she got to her destination safe.
And then ended up somewhere in the world, and then after that, somewhere in the world, and then after that, somewhere else in the world. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you guys, what is the coolest thing about missions?
The coolest thing about missions for me is just going to all these different nations, and you just get to experience God in such a profound way when you share the gospel with someone who's never heard it for the first time, or you have a gathering with like the local believers or with the local church or with the local workers there, and you just get to see God just encounter like so many people on such like an amazing level, and it's like you see a healing for the first time and you're like, well, I didn't even believe in this, and now it's like this woman was like paralyzed and now she's getting up, and it's like just really cool to see how God will move in specific people group or countries, and just like the different way that he'll move in Africa versus he moves in India and the Middle East. And I think it's really cool to just see the way that God, he's God, but he like reveals himself so uniquely to the people that he's made, because he's made them in such a specific way, and so he reveals himself in a way that is meaningful and unique to them.
Yeah. I think the coolest thing about missions is God just expands your limits in ways you never thought possible.
Yeah.
Where I feel like before leaving the world, everything just felt so small. Like I could only do so much, or God could only use me for so much. But I think after going, it's like, oh, like God, we can go anywhere. We can do anything. There's absolutely no cap on what's possible.
Yeah.
And I just feel like God just totally broke every box I could have, which is really cool. Like everything saying, I'm like, oh, you see a healing, or you go to places you just never in your life thought you'd go, and meet people that you should never have met, and it's like, wow, literally there is nothing feels that crazy anymore.
I personally love it. I think it's really fun.
Yeah.
But it also is hard, and it's definitely a really big adjustment.
Yeah.
I think for me, more of the adjustment was actually coming back home.
Yeah.
Just this past year, I spent like most of the year, like 80% of the year actually was in the mission field, and so it was overseas. But so I think coming back, the first time I ever came back from the mission field, I went to a Walmart, and I went there and I was trying to like pick out shampoo, and there was so much shampoo that I had like a panic attack in the Walmart, and I was like, Mom, I need like my mom to pick out shampoo, because I was just so used to like, you wash your hair with water. Like you just don't, and it was just crazy. It's like, I think the hardest part for me is always actually coming back to America and just adjusting to the culture and the life that everyone lives here.
Yeah. I think you go somewhere and there's a certain grace God gives you when he sends you somewhere that honestly without it you would not be okay. Like you just get thrown into this random place with these random people, you have no idea what's going on, you're jet lagged, you're a kid, keep in mind, so you're just like on just kids with kids trying to figure out how to survive or be in this place. And there's just a certain grace that goes on it when you're there where it just feels easy, weirdly enough. Like you're there and you're like, yep, okay, this is my life. And you get there and you adjust and you figure it out. And you're like, this is just what I'm doing. Great. And then you come home and it's really funny because people are like, oh, you must be so glad to be home and all these things. And you are, but there's a level of, it's always hard to explain what you just experienced and not many people ask.
Yeah.
And so that's typically the hardest part, and I think the most humbling part is coming back and be like, a lot of people just don't care, and that's fine. But also just coming back and you're back into a first world nation and you're driving normal cars and you're going to big stores and everything's just big and crazy.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit like it's the constant readjustment, which gets a little bit overwhelming and it gets pretty lonely. But I would say that's kind of
Takes you something like a month.
To readjust,
We try to do the best that we can to understand. Because I'm like, you just came from most likely a place that is completely different. You must feel like in the twilight zone. Where am I? Am I living this reality? So we try to let her be and try to process the best that she can. But I can tell that she's a little confused and distressed and disconnected from the regular environment. But eventually she catches up and she can continue life.
I also feel like it's hard when you see so many different things, and specifically when you see poverty or different types of living situations that you just, no matter where you go here, you just won't see that degree of. Like, you'll see poverty here, but it's genuinely a different level when you go to other places in the world.
Yeah.
And so when you see that and you experience that and you live with them and you do life with them and then you come here and you see people who have a machine for everything ever, it's like, your toothbrush vibrates. Why do you need your toothbrush to vibrate? Or, like, there's just something for everything, and you just, like, you were just washing your clothes in the river for weeks, and you were doing all these different things, and living the life that they live, and so you come here and you're like, oh, everybody's so, like, it's so easy to get cynical of the life that we live here because we're just way more privileged. And so I think that, that kind of comes with that.
What do you think are the misconceptions about missions?
One, they think missions is about them. I think that's the hardest part, is people are always like, I went on this missions trip and I experienced God this way, and I got to do this, and I got to see this, and I. And rarely ever is it, God did this, God whatever. But it's very much like, here's the photos I took with these kids.
Yeah.
Here's what I was able to do. I experienced this. And it's like, that's great, and that's awesome, and that's part of it. But the thing is, missions isn't about you.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I struggle with is missions isn't going to Mexico to build a house.
Yeah.
It's like, I just think that's always hard, where it's like, I went on a missions trip.
I built a house.
But you built a house, but they didn't preach
great.
the gospel. Which is great, of course. But it's like, without sharing the gospel, it's like you just made their life better to go straight to hell. It's like, is that?
I think,
I like that. I like that.
You have a nice house to go to hell. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just missions at its core is Matthew 28, the fulfillment of the Great Commission.
Yeah.
It's you go to every tribe, people, and tongue. You make disciples. You preach the gospel, and then they continue that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Building a house or digging a well, anyone can do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to know Jesus to do that.
Yeah.
And so, without what I say, if you don't, I think a lot of people think that what we do is we go and we build houses or we give people food, which is a part of it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because a part of sharing the gospel, especially in a lot of different cultures, is loving them first, because they won't receive if you just show up and you're like, here's the gospel, believe in Jesus, but you didn't love them in any way.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean much to them.
You have to build a relationship.
You have to build a relationship, and so part of it is like, I want to serve you, and you do things, but without the sharing of the gospel, it's not mission.
I think it's difficult for our current culture in 2025 to understand that. And I'm like, well, that's probably not counting the fact that I went to a mission trip and I really spoke to people and shared the gospel. But you have a great point. It's like that's the purpose, right? Because if we are following what we understand is the truth, and we think this truth is life-saving, so I think that if we found the cure for many diseases that are deadly, we would be sharing it, right? We would be sharing that secret or that discovery. So we forget. We think it's all about the doing, and yes, doing is important. I think that many Christians then forget the doing. Oh, it's just about preaching and goodbye. I'll pray that somebody provides for you. That's not how it works either. It works in works, right? We have to show our faith through works, but we have to share the gospel because that's right, like the Great Commission. That's what Jesus called us to do.
And that's precisely the point. It's not a humanitarian action. We are there to preach. That's how it works. Now, if you get in your mind the weirdest experience in the missions field, what would that be?
Yeah, I think, I won't say the country, but I was in this country in Central Asia, and I think it's like ranked like the second or third like hardest country to get into. And I like we arrive and we drive to the city, or we fly into a country, cross the border with a train, get to this main city. But it was like the whole city was like staged. It was like completely like fake, and they have a dictator, and it's super close to like any sort of tourist. And so, but they have like 2 towns out of the whole country that it's like tourists are allowed to go to. And I pull up and it's like all the buildings are like beautiful, but they're like totally empty. And it's like no one's in the buildings, no one's living there. There's like 3 cars on the road. You don't see anybody, and you're like, am I living in like a movie right now? And I was just like, we're just like driving with our tour guide, and we're like, what the heck? It's like so beautiful, but there's just nobody. And then you drive like 15 minutes outside of the city, and it's like the most third world poverty you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, wait, what? Those were like thousands of dollars of buildings worth, but like you're peeing in a hole that you dug 5 minutes ago. And so that was pretty trippy to see as you went through the country. It was like you're in a city with nobody, and then you're in a village of third world, and it's like, yeah, that was a pretty crazy trip. It was pretty, I don't remember the word, but trippy. It was wild.
Okay, I just tried to think of, let me pick one from Papua New Guinea. I would say this is like a more of a crazy experience, but I would say this is the weirdest experience of my life. I think just being here. When I was in PNG, we were in a village, and one Sunday, they were like, hey, the girls, you're going to go gardening with the mamas, and the boys, you're going to go hunting. And so we're like, oh, great, gardening. Like, that's fun. There must be a cute little, like, flower garden somewhere nearby. Then suddenly we get handed machetes and a big bag to strap around ourselves, and we start trekking straight up a mountain for miles. And when I mean straight up, I don't just mean like, oh, cute little hike. I mean, I did not know how we were going to get back down the mountain because it was just completely vertical. And so we trek up this mountain for like 2 hours, finally get to the top. By then, I was wearing Birkenstocks, so by then they were destroyed, so I took them off. Suddenly, the rest of my team that was with me left. They all left me, so I was alone with one of the mamas and her daughters. They don't speak English. We're on top of this mountain at this garden, and we're just machete cutting down all these fruits and vegetables, digging them with holes. I'm barefoot. And then we grab all stuff, which these bags are called billums, and they would carry them on their heads. It's how they, like in Africa, they carry the baskets on top of their head, but in PNG, they strap them on their heads. They have some of the craziest neck strength I've ever seen in my life. And so she straps a bag on my head and around my waist, and like 2 around my waist. I'm barefoot. It's about 95 or more degrees, but not just 95 degrees like typical sun. I mean Papua New Guinea sun, which I just think sun's just different over there. It's just a different level of heat. And then we're trekking back down this mountain. Halfway through, we stop at this little hut, sit down for a little break. Her daughters are making a fire and roasting the corn that we just picked. They're like 7 years old, and they just built this fire. And then I'm sitting there, the daughter whips out like a fat knife, cuts me a papaya, hands it to me, and I'm sitting there with this Papua New Guinean family on the top of this mountain, and I'm like, what is my life? I was 18 years old at the time, and I was thoroughly confused as to how I got there or what I was doing with my life, and it was one of the craziest moments, I think, for me. So, yeah, that was
That's one of the God made me laugh moments.
Yeah, that blew my mind, I think. Yeah.
So, how can people contribute for you guys to continue the mission that God put in your hands?
Pray.
Pray.
I think, God said it, or Jesus said it, pray for, like, the harvest is ripe, pray for laborers, and I think that's honestly the main thing, is, like, everywhere we go, the harvest is so ripe, so many healing salvations, it's like God is just waiting for someone to, like, go to the nation and actually pray the prayer and actually talk to the person and share the gospel, and then it's just, like, instant, like, boom, healing, boom, salvation. Not that it's us, it's 100% God, but I think pray for laborers, I think is the main way. And then, I think it's not necessarily like our mission that you're pouring into, it's God's mission. It's the fulfillment of the Great Commission, and the church has, like, hundreds of times over the amount if they want to fulfill the Great Commission, and it's just like...
Oh, the stat? So there's a statistic that they share with us often, back at our base, and it's that the American church alone spends more money on Halloween costumes for their dogs. And that amount of money they spend on Halloween costumes for their dogs, they can fulfill the Great Commission.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
In the American church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
I think pray for laborers, and I also think, I think one of the biggest things is if you are supporting a missionary, if you church is supporting a missionary, you're taking mission trips, go to the unreached.
Yeah.
There's 3.3 billion people in the world right now that have never and have little to no chance of ever hearing even the name of Jesus, let alone the gospel.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, how many people in the Western church actually, like, personally know a missionary? I don't feel like it's too many. I didn't know any missionaries growing up. I had no idea what missions was.
Yeah.
And then you get there and there's like 3.3 billion people, and you like get in an organization, and like we're around missionaries and missions all the time, and so we're like, oh, there's so many people, like it's fine. And then you go there and there's like, oh wait, out of the whatever 20% of missionaries that there are from believers, it's like 1% of those are actually going to the unreached. And it's just like crazy. I don't know the numbers exactly, but it's like a super small fraction of missionaries are actually going to places where they've never heard the gospel. So I think pray for laborers, but then also, like, if you are supporting or if you are going, maybe pray and have the conversation of like, hey, let's go somewhere where they've never heard the gospel. God gave us the Great Commission, not to just do it, but to complete it so we could come back. And so I think just praying that more people would go to the unreached, and God would even just, not even from the U.S., I just mean like people that got saved in Iran would go and preach to their brothers and sisters and their family, which, has a super high cost, but just more laborers and pray.
Yeah. Prayer, financial. I think if you know a missionary, I think, this is going to be a little bit intense, but I think the reality is, if you believe in the Great Commission, either go or support a local missionary. I think it's really easy to go to church on a Sunday and not actually believe that Jesus is coming back or that there's actually work to be done. And the reality is that there are millions of people dying every single day with absolutely no hope or no awareness that Jesus was ever even a man or a person, have no idea of the gospel at all. And every day people are dying not knowing this. And so if you know a missionary, support them, because our lives are totally committed to going, and that's how we're able to actually do that, is with the support people who don't just want to support us but actually believe in what God is doing in the nations. And what he was saying, pray and see if you're supposed to go yourself. I think local ministry is awesome. We need to pour into our local ministry and discipleship and our churches, Church in America, all those things. It's so necessary, but it should be unto sending people.
Yeah.
People need to go. And if it's here or whichever, just let your work be done to discipling, but then also unto fulfilling the Great Commission. Support it somehow, because yeah.
And right here on the description of the video, we're gonna add some links for people who want to contribute financially, and also for the prayers and every now and then a note to let them know we're praying for you.
Also questions.
And questions if necessary, that's very, very important. So we're gonna have some of those links also in the description of this video. Now, this one was not even in the spectrum of questions that I had. So, but I want to put it out there. What would you tell a parent that their child wants to go overseas to preach the gospel?
I think you guys did it best when I was growing up. Since I was little, my parents have always said, my mom specifically has always just been like, listen, God tells you to go to Africa, then I have to let you go because ultimately you're his, not mine. She had no idea what she was saying because here we are now.
Here we are.
So,
Hey, don't that make you laugh?
but I think ultimately your child isn't yours, they're God's. And so whether if it's going to college 10 minutes away or being in Afghanistan, you can't control what happens. And so trust God, and if they ultimately, the greatest gift would be that your child desires to follow God's leading in their life. And so if they're following God's leading, he is going to protect them and take care of them.
Awesome.
And just to add to that, many parents are like, how, I haven't encountered anybody questioning me or how could you let her go? Well, probably a couple of people. Yeah,
we had a few.
People. How could you let her go? And what about her career and all that? The reality is, like, she's right. Since I was young, I think that God put that in my heart. I didn't know that was gonna happen, but if that was God's will, hey, and he was serious when he asked, and he said that one of my kids would go in the mission field. So, hey, what about those that go to war? What about those that, hey, decide to relocate to the other side of the world? Those parents have to make a decision, right, to let those kids go. And in my heart and in my mind, what better way than knowing that she's covered by the Holy Spirit? And if I believe God, I have to, I have to trust him with what I love or what we love the most, because this is not my thing. This is Ivan's too, Ivan trusting. So I think that so far it has been amazing. I think that God gives us a special peace. Isabel jokes because as soon as she comes home and she starts driving at night, then I immediately, where are you? Are you coming home? And she's like, I just came back from the other side of the world and now you are concerned. So I don't know how that works. But
well, I would rather have you off the grid in a jungle than driving at 10 p.m. in Connecticut. That's just me.
That's fair.
Thank you so much for staying with us in this very special episode. Do not forget to check the contact information. We're going to leave it right in the description of this video. Connect with them, ask questions, join their mailing list. Also, do not forget to share this video with your friends, subscribe, send us your comments, and I will see you next time.
This episode was sponsored by Gina Healing and Wellness Center, Beyond Direct Primary Care.